and welcome to the pack here on KWOU Radio. I'm Ian Dexter alongside Kellen Hughes. And Kellen, how's it going? We haven't been here for a couple weeks.
Exhausting, but I'm doing well. Yourself?
Yeah, it's that time of the year. Pretty much midterms. I mean, it's only week 4, but I told you earlier, I got 2 or 3 midterms already due this week, and it's getting kind of real now this term. That's when it starts to pile up on you. But we missed last week's show. Gunther Bird not able to join us today. Like I said, it's hectic right now, and so he's got a project he's working on, so he will not be joining us. But we got a nice full slate of things to come here on the pack. And if you saw our Facebook post, get your popcorn ready. It's a little Terrell Owens, so that's what you gotta be expecting tonight. Some big stuff happening. Let's start as usual with Western Oregon Athletics and the men's basketball team. It's been quite a year for them. I gotta say, I'm pretty proud to be doing all the games for them, be able to see them each week and pay attention to them and really learn from the team, learn the players' names, and kind of follow their stories as the season goes along. And they're having one of the best seasons in quite a long time for men's basketball, or for any sport here at Western Oregon. Since the last time we had a show, which was a couple weeks ago on the 13th, they've had 3 straight wins since that time, and actually 6 straight wins total. So since we had a show, they defeated St. Martin's University 82-68. Then they defeated Simon Fraser University, and the first game was at home, the next 2 are on the road. Simon Fraser University, if anyone knows who they are, they're the highest scoring team in all of Division II coming into that game against Western Oregon. They average like 110 points a game. For a college basketball team, Division II, over 110 points per game, and the Wolves beat them 114-75, held them way below their average, and even probably beat the average that they have on the season. So, I mean, the Wolves just had a crazy good game in that one. Awesome defense on the road. So it took out Simon Fraser, and then Western Washington, who's kind of been a team who's dominated the GNAC in the last few years. They beat them on the road 90-87 in a close one. So congratulations to the men's team. They are now 16-3 overall and 8-1 in the conference. And so with that, the new rankings came out this week. And officially, let's start with their rank in the GNAC. They're number 1, top record in the GNAC right now. Number 3 in the West region of Division II. And for the first time this season, have topped the top 25 of Division II men's basketball. They are now number 24 after the 2 big road wins. So that's huge news for this team, cracking the top 25. I mean, I'm pretty sure Division II does a tournament just like Division I, so we will hopefully be seeing them in that tournament later this year, Kellen.
Yeah, it's not even a question now. This is so good.
Yeah. And so they're continuing against Montana State University Billings on the 29th, so this Thursday. And then they'll have Seattle Pacific in a rematch here at home. So both games are at home, Thursday and Saturday. And the only team that they've lost to in the GNAC is Seattle Pacific. They lost that game out on the road on New Year's Day. And so now they'll be getting a second chance at them here at home. And so those games will both be on Woo TV. I'll be there. Kellen, you interested in coming to either of those?
Of course.
Okay, so Thursday, Saturday, you might hear from both of us on those games, both at 7 p.m., so check them out. In other news for men's basketball, Jordan Wiley was named the GNAC Player of the Week. So a great honor for him. He had a huge game against Simon Fraser, I remember. 26 points 6 rebounds. He was 7 of 8 shooting threes. We know how good he's been all year shooting threes, and that was one of his better games, 26 points. And then against Western Washington, he finished with 15 points. So 41 total points for him. I mean, you really could have gone with him or Andy Avgi. Avgi had 21 points in the second game, was the leading scorer in that one, and had 23 points in the first game with 8 rebounds. So you really couldn't have missed choosing either of them. But speaking of Andy Avgi, he reached the 1,000-point club on his career, and he's just a redshirt junior. So he's got another season. And Kellen, you mentioned Dana Ghilardi, the senior for the men's team, or the women's team. Sorry, Dana, I didn't. For the women's team, she had reached 1,000 points earlier this season. And it's kind of cool because actually Dana and Andy are dating.
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
No one knew that. Yeah, a little inside knowledge there. Hopefully they're still dating. But last I saw that they were. Anyways, speaking of the women's team and Dana Ghilardi, she was injured the last time we were talking about them. She hurt her ankle and she had to miss a couple games. I think she missed 4 games, and that was a huge blow to the team. But they got her back this past Thursday, so the game before the Root Sports game, which we'll talk about as well. But they got her back for the Seattle Pacific University game. And Seattle Pacific, do you know what they were ranked coming into that game?
Weren't they in the top 25?
They were, yeah. Even higher, though. Number 8.
Oh, wow.
In all of Division II women's basketball. And the Wolves upset them 67-62 on home court. Got their first home win of the season, so that was huge.
You mean away win?
That was their first home win.
Oh, yeah.
That was here. Yeah, and so the Wolves hadn't won a home game all season until that one that beat the number 8 team. It was a really good game. I got to see that one, and Dana was a huge spark for the team. But I remember it was the freshman Sammy Osborne who had the biggest game, 16 points for her. Elise Miller had 10 points. And then Dana Ghilardi had 10 points as well. And Katie Goddard with 11. So they got a lot of contributions. Ghilardi didn't start. She played 20 minutes because it was her first game back. But then in the read-out Root Sports game against Montana State Billings, Ghilardi did start that one. And that was a great finish. Wolves led it 29-27 at halftime. But MSU came back strong in the second half and ended up taking it 59-57 on really a buzzer beater, a layup that seemed to hang in the air forever as it came down, and they ended up winning the game on that basket by Kayleen Goggins. And then Jordan Mottershaw had 18 points on Root Sports. Ghilardi had 13. So it was really cool. Really, it was a good atmosphere. I a little disappointed, though, by the attendance a little bit, because we had the Root Sports game last year. And granted, I mean, men's and women's are a little different. More people tend to come for men's games. But it was a televised game on Root Sports. And last year for the men's game, we had almost a full packed side of students. And this time they could only fit one section where they packed all the students in. But it was just one section, that looked full, but everywhere else was pretty much empty on the one side with the fans. And so that was kind of disappointing. The band came, but that was cool, so it made it kind of a cool atmosphere. But I like to expect a little bit more from our student body and supporting the team, especially on a Root Sports televised game. So if we ever get another one next year, hopefully have more people attending. But even so, it was really interesting, and I was pleased that I got a chance to work with the Root Sports team. I was actually on stats duty, so I was sitting at the table with my computer with the stats up, and I was on a headset, and what they do is they would ask me for things, and for the images that would go on the screen. And so I would tell them statistics, shooting percentage, points, rebounds, whatever was going on in the game, anything that was maybe interesting, number of turnovers, specific players, statistics, and everything. And anything that went on the screen was stuff that I was giving them. So if you got to watch the game on Root Sports, any of those images, all of the statistics on there was from yours truly, which was kind of cool. It was cool working with the Root Sports guys, and so very, very fun experience, and I hope to be able to do something like that again. So thank you again to the Root Sports team for coming, if you guys happen to be listening to the show. All right, so that's Woo Athletics. It was a big week, and, big week coming up. Big weeks coming up because baseball and softball are starting coming soon. I know, college baseball and softball start really early comparatively to like Major League Baseballs all throughout the summer. They got to do theirs in the spring. So anyways, they'll be starting soon. And then, women's basketball and men's basketball are in their last month. They finish at the end of February, and then men's basketball will continue obviously into the playoffs. Fortunately for the women's team, they probably won't be there with the 5-12 record right now unless they finish really strong. They'll be taking on St. Martin's University this Saturday, and that's all they have on tap for this week. That'll be on the road. All right, so let's move it on to the National Hockey League. And we had the All-Star break that just was going on this past week, so there were no games for 5 days. It was pretty boring. And then the All-Star game was on Sunday, and which is interesting because the All-Star game and the Pro Bowl were on the exact same day, which is really weird.
Who's going to watch the Pro Bowl?
Right, exactly. So I have some questions for you regarding this. So the All-Star game final score was 17-12 for hockey, 17-12. So no defense. The Pro Bowl was 32-28, so closer, especially for football standards. So I'm wondering, what do you think the future of All-Star games are for, just pro sports in general?
I mean, it is what it is. It's an exhibition game. There's no... If you play hard and you play defense, you're risking injury, and there's no reason to do that in an exhibition game. That means utterly nothing.
Yeah, and, here's another question: is which All-Star game do you think is the best, and is there really even a point to the All-Star games anymore, or Pro Bowls?
I mean, I would say baseball because there's something on the line.
Mm-hmm.
But I really just don't think there's a real point to them. It's just, it's for the fans. That's what they are for.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All-Star games have just, they've really diminished over the last few years too. They've slowly gotten worse and worse. Players aren't putting out the effort anymore. So it's disappointing to have these games. Do you have any ideas that for things that maybe could replace an All-Star game would be better than doing an All-Star game? Because they really just, NBA sucks, the NHL sucks, football sucks. The only one, in my opinion, that is even decent is baseball, and that's because they made it mean something. It's home field advantage,
but it
in the
still
World
kind
Series.
of sucks.
The game itself really isn't very good. The home run derby is kind of exciting. I like watching that. And then, the opening lineups, it's more about who makes the All-Star game rather than the game itself, in my opinion, for baseball. I think that is kind of the way it is for most sports too. I'm interested who makes the Pro Bowl for football, how many Packers make it. I'm interested, but I didn't watch it. I don't think I watched a single play. I didn't watch the NHL All-Star game because they just don't mean anything.
Mm-hmm. I think the solution would be what kind of the NBA have been flirting with, and that's the idea of a mid-season tournament. Because I think that, first of all, 5 days is just It's not enough time to give people breaks for hockey. I mean, that's a physical sport. For NBA, it's a lot of games. And I think they need more time. And I think it would be better to give like a 2-week, like, hey, we're having like also our celebration, but hey, we get 2 weeks off.
So what do you mean by the tournament? I haven't heard anything about this.
So the tournament is the idea, kind of just mid-season tournament where everyone kind of qualifies. And so that's, it hasn't really been like ironed out of the idea, but it's kind of just like in college basketball, you have like the Hawaii, it's like a lower tournament or something like that, but it's along those lines of something that's cool. It kind of means something, but not really.
So would it be putting like their teams against each other in like exhibition type games?
Yeah.
Or okay, so it's not like all-star teams against all-star teams in exhibitions,
it's a tournament.
Okay.
So you're playing for a prize, and what that prize or trophy is,
okay.
I don't know, and if it actually would mean something is another question, but it's you have to flirt with different ideas.
Yeah, to get people interested. That's interesting. I've never thought of that. I mean, I think the one thing that people would worry about is injury. You know, if someone got injured in one of these tournaments that didn't actually count, there would be a big uproar on that. You know, and I'd expect you get players sitting out because they don't want to get injured. And
yeah, I could see LeBron not playing.
Oh, yeah. Because that would change things definitely, too.
Yeah. I mean, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
You're kind of right on that, definitely. In my opinion, this is mine, I think skills competitions are way more interesting. For football, they used to do these things on ESPN, like during summer, during the off season, where they'd have players doing like competitions, like one-on-one competitions, but it wasn't like, the thing is that the Pro Bowl, like nobody tackles hard, no one hits hard, you can't touch the quarterbacks because no one wants to get hurt. So in these skills competitions, you're really removing almost all risk of injury. I mean, there always is, but these guys are professional athletes. They're not probably going to get injured doing a little skill competition. So it'd be cool to like put, quarterbacks against each other doing like throwing drills, like perfect throwing drills, stuff where there isn't like hitting or anything, but like you can still have cool competitions, speed contests, stuff like that. That would be cool to get the best of the best together. Catching drills, there's like the dunk contest in the NBA, which is kind of also plummeted, I feel like, a little bit, but you could do stuff with like cool catches for receivers and stuff, like who can make the best highlight reel type catches. That would be kind of sweet to watch, I think. And for the NHL, I think their skills competition already is way better. They do shooting contests, hardest shot. They do speed contests. Then they implemented something really cool this year, which is using the GoPro cameras. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos, but they put GoPros on NHL players during like some of the contests. During the speed one, that's pretty cool because they are flying. Yeah. And they go around the cones and they're just like, they did the same
thing with Formula One, not to be off track, but it's what you see on TV, like in hockey, and the speed. It looks fast.
Oh yeah,
but it you don't realize how fast it is until you get that.
Definitely. Yeah, when you get the first person camera view. So I think that was kind of neat. I hope they keep doing that type of stuff. I think just getting like having an all-star team, have that recognition, but don't do games anymore. Do like cool different types of skills competitions. It's just kind of fun, I think, personally. Maybe they just need to do some like karaoke contests, something. Maybe that'll get fans. Who's the best singer?
If you're like comedian,
talent shows with the players that doesn't revolve around their sport.
Yeah, you don't want to see that though.
No,
you know how brutal that would be.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the LaMarcus Aldridge commercial, McLaughlin Automall? It was so bad that they took out the voices and then just did the words.
Oh no, really? Because was he acting, right? Or he wasn't? he was just saying the stuff, and he was just like.
They even made a commercial after it to mock it.
Really?
Where people diss on it, and then LaMarcus Aldridge is right there, and he's like, "What are you saying?"
Is it like he's super monotone? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just no heart, and that's cool. That's funny though. At least they can have fun with that too. All right, so the NHL still though, we're on that topic. Right now, first games back after the All-Star game, so they had Monday off after the All-Star game as well, and it's a huge slate of games coming out for the first night, and the two games that I'm really looking at, I think, are going to be the best of the night. Looking at Winnipeg at Pittsburgh, and I'll get to each of the games, and Anaheim at Vancouver. The reason I picked these two games is Winnipeg and Pittsburgh don't play a lot, for one. So they're out of conference teams, but at the same time, they're both in playoff races. Winnipeg has been a surprise team. I actually picked them as my surprise team of the season. They've been pretty good so far. They're right now, they would be in the playoffs. They would be a wild card team at this point, but right behind Chicago and St. Louis, two teams that no one expected that they would be close to. They've won 5 straight games coming out of the All-Star break. So that's pretty cool, putting them up against the Penguins, who, of course, are the Penguins and are one of the top teams in the East. They're number 2 team in the Metropolitan Division. So I think this is going to be a good game. It's actually at the end of the first period, and right now Pittsburgh leads it 1-0. And Sidney Crosby is actually out for this game. So it makes it a little less, but actually, you know, because Winnipeg a better chance, which might make it an even better game. The other game that I'm looking forward to again is Anaheim at Vancouver, which starts at 7 p.m. And these are two division rivals. So we got an out of conference and then division rivals. Anaheim right now is the number 1 team in the NHL, 68 points. Vancouver is 3rd in that division. And this is a really big game. Anaheim's also won 5 in a row like Winnipeg. Vancouver's lost 1 in a row, but they've been a surprising team after the year they had last season. And, you know, looking to hold on to a playoff spot because the West is pretty tight right now. They got to look out for Los Angeles right behind them and Calgary right behind them. So they're only 2 points up on Calgary, 3 points up on LA. So they've got to, you know, every point counts, but beating a team like Anaheim is not going to be easy, who are 31-10-6 on the year. So they've been the best team so far.
Who are you picking in both games?
Well, I have the I'm able to see that Pittsburgh's up 1-0, but I'll give Winnipeg, I'll give the road teams some love, because Anaheim's just super tough right now. I wouldn't be surprised necessarily if either of the teams win, but just the way Anaheim has been playing, and also it's the first game out of the break, so that is tough to judge how teams are going to come out. But yeah, the Ducks are really tough right now. Vancouver doesn't even have that great of a home record either. Anaheim's been pretty solid still on the road. But that'll be a good game at 7 p.m. Flames also play tonight. Yeah, so I pick Winnipeg and Anaheim, the road teams. Calgary has got the Buffalo Sabres, and the Flames are starting a 6-game home stand with this game. So that's good news. They've been on the road a lot lately. So I'm looking forward to that game starting at 6 p.m. as well. And yeah, Flames right now holding on to a playoff spot by a point. So that's pretty cool after the All-Star break. 47 games in. No one expected that. Holding on by a point over Los Angeles. After that, though, you know, Colorado is actually sneaking their way back in, but Dallas and Minnesota are still there, but it's, you know, Calgary's really battling with Los Angeles at this point, and then the teams ahead of them, of course. I'm hoping they can make it. That'd be super cool. In other news in the NHL, and this will be our last little discussion of hockey, Martin Brodeur, you know who that is? He is the all-time leading goaltender in wins and shutouts in the NHL. 691 wins, 125 shutouts all time, both NHL records. And he officially hung up the skates today, hung up the goalie pads. He's been an all-time New Jersey Devil player until this season when he signed as a free agent with the St. Louis Blues. And it took him a while to sign with them because they had some goalie injuries, so they signed him, but then they've gotten their guys healthy again, and so now he has retired and is joining the St. Louis front office. Yeah. As the Blues try to make a run at the Stanley Cup. So he'll still be involved. For me, first of all, Brodeur is arguably the best goalie to ever play, and statistically the best goalie to ever play with the wins and shutouts. He's kind of like Brett Favre of hockey because he played for so long. It was hard not for him to get all the records. Kind of like Brett Favre, who, up until Peyton Manning, he had the touchdown records, the yards record. He had all the records, interception records, because he played so much longer than anyone else, and he played like every game. Well, Brodeur's kind of similar. He has the wins and shutouts record because he played so long, but he was also very effective. You still have to be effective. And he was. So I think he'll go down as the best goalie of all time, but there are still a few others that are put up there.
I think it's pretty neat that he gets a front office role.
Yeah. So what I've read is that he's still under contract with them, so he's staying with them through the rest of the season because he was signed to a 1-year deal. I also heard, this is just kind of a rumor, that if they have any more injuries to their goalies again, he could unretire and come back but this way he's not on their roster right now. He's just helping out the team. He can, give the goalies tips, of course. Just help out wherever needed. But that's just kind of a rumor I've heard that, if they had injuries, he could be a kind of a backup plan, a safety precaution that they have there. You got best goalie of all time. They're going to probably be in the playoffs, so if they really needed a goalie last minute, you might as well go with him. He's
not a bad option.
Yeah, definitely not a bad option. So if they don't need him, then he will stay retired, and then since he has 1-year deal with the Blues, I think he would probably go back with the Devils, the team he played with almost his whole career. But he did have kind of a bad ending with them because the way it was handled at the end, which happens a lot today, in the professional world. Just unfortunate, players sometimes have bad endings with their teams, but hopefully they can mend things and he can go back. So we'll see what happens with Marty Brodeur the rest of the season, if he ever does unretire, or if he'll stick to his word. And if he does unretire, then he's definitely like Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Gotta throw that out there, definitely.
Fair point.
Yeah. All right, Kellen, let's move on to the NBA.
Well, the NBA's happening. That's a pain. It's a lot. I did not expect the NBA to be like it is. It's a lot different than it was last year, and Portland has been doing good, and Portland has also gotten a lot of injuries, which, LaMarcus Aldridge is probably to relief of all of Blazer Nation. When news came out that he was going to be out for 8 weeks, I was like going to class and teachers were like, LaMarcus Aldridge, he's out 8 weeks. This is bad. And I was like, yeah. And then 2 days later, get a news report. He's going to play the game. It was impressive.
That's playing with a broken thumb. And you mentioned it's on his not shooting thumb, but that's still tough. it's not like he's never going to use that hand.
Yeah. I wonder if there's like some Eastern medicine involved or something. I mean, there has to be something a little shady about getting that pain down.
Calling Eastern medicine shady.
I mean, have you seen Eastern medicine?
I haven't experienced it firsthand.
They think opium is medicine.
I mean, it could it could
nothing wrong with Eastern medicine. There's some good medicine, but some of it is a little iffy. But yeah, NBA's a little weird. I don't know what to think about Golden State because they're still in top. But I don't believe them to be as good as the record suggests. And Cleveland's finally doing well. I mean, after their horrendous kind of beginning, it was a show in a negative way. But yeah, I honestly couldn't pick the title people.
The championship, the finals.
It is like
You had Cleveland, Portland at the beginning. I think I had Golden State, Cleveland. I think Gunther even had the same as you. Yeah, I mean it's gonna be. I think there's a lot of good teams and there could be a lot of, especially in the West. I mean, we always talk about the West, how good it is.
It goes 1 through 8.
Yeah. But the East is almost feels like it would be a toss up with the top 3-4 teams. Yeah, but West is more packed where it's almost like anyone can do it. Do you think Oklahoma City's gonna climb back into the playoffs?
They just haven't showed being.
Yeah.
I mean, with Phoenix actually kind of starting to pull away a little, they kind of had a couple losses of late, but still, OKC's it'll be hard for them. I mean, I know they have talent, but I mean, they have Dion Waiters who, really, you think he'll be a good addition to your team?
So Portland 32-13, they're in third place in the West. You still give them a good chance to make the finals right now?
Western Finals.
You don't think, who do you think they would lose to right now? Who's kind of their Achilles heel?
I mean, the Achilles heel is Memphis. The last game they played against Memphis, it was a little more mortal, but when they played Memphis early on, it was like men against boys.
Oh. Yeah, so you think Memphis is the best team in the West?
Oh, no. I think,
you said you weren't sold on Golden State, so that's
it's hard.
Yeah. Even you can't figure it out in your mind.
Yep. I look at every team like, but there's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fault.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
It's going to make it interesting playoffs, and it really depends on how good LaMarcus Aldridge is with his injury. If he can play his usual self, I could see them being in the finals.
Mm-hmm. Golden State is 21-1 at home this year. That's pretty ridiculous.
Unbeatable.
Yeah. Do you know who was the only team they lost to at home?
I think. So, they've only lost to 6 teams, so.
Yeah. It's funny though, this was the same story a lot.
It was San Antonio.
San Antonio. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Same as kind of last year, but looking at the Eastern Conference, Charlotte is 19-26 in a playoff spot. Okay, Miami's 20-24. I'll give a little slack for that, but 19-26 in a playoff spot, and then you've got in the West, New Orleans and Oklahoma City, who are both over 500, and they've got to be out of the playoffs. It is just how does that even happen?
I think they need to revise the whole system.
You think so?
I think it would be better if it was a 1-16 format, kind of like a March Madness.
Yeah.
I think it's more fair. I mean, you keep getting like Eastern Conference teams with below 500
Yeah.
records. How fair is that to Phoenix last year?
Yeah.
It could have been third in the East.
Do you think they would ever go down to like 6 teams from each conference like the NFL does? No.
No, it's too much of a moneymaker.
Yeah. No, I'm sure you're right, definitely. But it would be, I feel like that'd be better because if it seems like the bottom 2 teams of the conference are always just like have no chance.
Is really no point.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a 7th or 8th seed. It's a first round bye, basically.
Especially in the East, too. It's just like, okay, this team that has.
Although Atlanta gave Indiana a pretty run for the money, but that was also because Indiana was in a pretty historic fall.
Yeah, and look at Atlanta now. So
Yeah.
Atlanta was proving that they were on the up.
Yeah, Atlanta, you could easily tell they're just a well coached team.
I just noticed they're on a 16-game winning streak. Where did that come from?
They're a well coached team, and they have the talent. They have Al Horford, Paul Millsap, Jeff Teague, and you can win with that.
All right, give me your final thoughts on the rest of the year because we're 45 games or so into the season, so most teams are at 35 left or so, give or take. What are your final thoughts going down the second half of the season?
I think final thoughts are that Portland really needs to rebound. The last couple weeks have been real rough for them. They kind of slid a little. I think that the rest of the season is it's mysterious. You don't know who's going to win the championship. You kind of know who's going to make the playoffs, but what the order is, I think this is where we get to see who's going to win and who's going to falter.
All right. Let's move it on to, this is a sport we haven't talked about in a while, but I want to talk about Major League Baseball just for a second because we haven't really talked about them a lot. Free agency was going on a lot, but the big signing that everyone was looking out for was that of Max Scherzer, who was the ace of the Detroit Tigers the last couple seasons, arguably. Verlander was there, but Scherzer really stood out, and he declined his offer from the Tigers a while back, and so it looked like, he was probably going to be moving on, and the winner was the Washington Nationals picked up Max Scherzer on
For a pretty penny, I'm guessing?
yeah, 7 years, what was the exact deal? 7-year contract. Where are the figures? For whatever reason, I can't find the numbers on that deal, but 7 years, so you can imagine it's probably like $200 million or something around there, probably. So they got the big winner. And I wanted to ask, does that make them the early favorites for the World Series in the National League? Because if you look at that rotation now, with Scherzer, who automatically becomes the ace, but you got Strasburg behind him, Jordan Zimmerman, who was really good last season, Gio Gonzalez, who's still a good starter, and as a number 4 is going to be, if he's your 4th best starter, that's pretty crazy. And then they've got a few other guys that they can use, like Tanner Roark, who was really good last season, Doug Fister, who, he might be a free agent anyways, but I feel like Roark would probably be number 5, so that's a pretty good starting 5, and they had pretty solid hitting last year. A decent bullpen, even though they lost Tyler Clippard. They traded him for, Escobar to the Athletics, but what do you make? Do you think they're the early World Series favorite? It is just January 27th, but
it's tough. It's yes and no. I think that lineup, that pitching rotation, like, be anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. But when have we seen large deals work out in the favor of title?
Yeah.
You don't build teams that way, kind of.
Yeah, usually, I mean, most times it does not work. You're right. But but it's the hot thing. Everyone, teams still do it because they think it's going to work. And
hey, if any is going to work, it's going to be this one.
Yeah, Max Scherzer has been so good. He's moving now from the American League to the National League, so that's going to be even easier. We know the American League is a better hitting league, so now he's facing easier lineups. He gets the pitcher, every ninth hitter suddenly, and his numbers might be even better with the Nationals. And they were the top team in the National League last season, so there's no reason to expect that they wouldn't be the top team in the National League, even though they got upset by the. Did they get upset by the Dodgers? No. The Cardinals. No, the Giants. Giants upset them. Yeah, the eventual World Series champs. So, still might not even matter, but I think right now, they're going to be the early favorites. Just talked about in the media, definitely, with that pitching rotation. And I think I like when teams sign free agents more than like a big trade at the trade deadline, because it gives your team more time to mesh together.
Yeah.
And a lot of times at the trade deadline, you just do all these changes, and suddenly your team doesn't know what your team is anymore. And you're getting rid of guys, guys who are a big part of the clubhouse and stuff. But now suddenly they can, it's January. You've got all of spring training, then the beginning of the season, then, throughout the season, you're going to build relationships with these guys playing together. So I think that will work out in their favor better. Those are my thoughts.
Yep.
All right, yeah, I think we talked about most other deals. James Shields is probably the best free agent left. His was really waiting on what happened to John Lester and Max Scherzer, because then the teams that didn't get them will start to go after James Shields because he's kind of the next best big starter out there. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. He declined the offer from the Royals, so we imagine he won't be back with Kansas City next season. So we'll have to see where he ends up. Probably within a couple weeks we'll know, I would imagine, because spring training is going to start in about a month, which is always an exciting time. All right, let's move on to the dreaded NFL. I've been trying to put it off, but it was a tough end of the season as a Packer fan.
It happened.
Yeah, it was very that was a heartbreaking loss. So we've got our Super Bowl, which is going to be in Arizona between the Patriots and the Seahawks. And both teams used two different things really to get themselves into the Super Bowl. The Patriots blew out the Colts, and the Seahawks won.
In Deflategate.
Yeah. But yeah, we can talk about that. And the Seahawks won a nail-biter with the Packers. So, is there an advantage? I don't know. I mean, who would you pick in this right now? And we can talk about Deflategate if you want.
I mean, is this a question to me?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine you would pick the Seahawks.
Yeah,
but
I think Seattle's they're younger. What New England's good players are, they're all old.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the experience helps. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tom Brady, his experience, but has Tom Brady really won a Super Bowl lately?
No, he hasn't won one since, 2006, I want to say.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
And he's been to Super Bowls, which has been the most telling sign. It's just, I mean, he can will that team to what it is. It's just Super Bowl, it's a different beast.
Yeah. It'll be tough, I think. I'm actually really not sure who's going to win. So I don't even know if I have a pick.
The best if last year happened.
Right, and I don't think it's going to be a repeat of last year. I think the Seahawks were on a different level last season, honestly, than the rest of the league. This year, I think they're not that they've more even mortal. Really lost more, but yeah, they are. They're more mortal. They can be beat. I think it showed in the Packer game. They really got beaten down for 55 minutes and were able to come away with that win at the end by kind of miraculous causes. I mean, it was just one of the weirdest endings to a game I've ever watched. But I think it showed in that game that they can be beaten. So this will be I think will be different. And I think the Patriots stomping of the Colts is a little scary. Although, the Colts aren't the Seahawks. But yeah, Deflategate, do you really think that it's being talked about so much. It's kind of overkill. Do you think that was as important as some people are making it out to be?
It would have been important if it was like 21-17 or something like that. Mm-hmm. This was a blowout. Like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe if it wasn't plated, maybe a lower score, Patriots would have won.
Yeah. It's funny. Well, so, like, if they had been deflating the balls that the Colts were using, I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's terrible foul play. But they're deflating the balls that they're holding. So it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, if they sabotage the Colts and Andrew Luck's got to hold a deflated ball and he can't throw it, right? That's a little different. But, it was only really Tom Brady got a better grip on it. Even if they actually did something, which, I mean, they probably did, but if you're not cheating, you're not trying, I guess, right?
Did you hear Bill Nye even, because Bill Belichick did his little, like, scientific reasoning, and Bill Nye was just like, I don't know what science he's using, because that doesn't make sense.
I heard about the Bill Nye thing. I thought he defended them. I didn't actually hear what he said, but okay.
He pretty much just like, yeah, this is BS.
And everyone's gonna believe Bill Nye, that's for sure.
Bill Nye the science guy.
Yeah. Bill. Yeah, so that whole thing, I think it's been kind of blown out of proportion. Even the Colts tight end, I don't remember, it wasn't Tammy, but it was
Fleener?
No, it was one of their backup tight ends, but he said that the Patriots could have beat them if they were playing with soap. That's what he said. Like, yeah. This is the Colts tight end saying that the Patriots would have beat them.
Let's be honest,
if they were playing with soap. Like,
it really shouldn't be that. I mean, it's cheating, but
yeah,
really,
yeah. Of all the things, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot they like to make the Patriots out to be the bad guys too, though. They always tend to end up being that way. The whole Spygate thing that happened a while back. So I think a lot of people love to hate the Patriots.
Well, no doubt they win every year. They're
in it every year. I mean, there hasn't been a year that they have not been in the playoffs. The only year they didn't make it was the year Brady was injured, and they still finished that year 10-6 and just missed the playoffs.
Matt Castle.
Yeah, Matt Castle. They didn't play bad. They were 10-6 and they missed it. So they've been a good team like every year since Brady won that first Super Bowl back in 2002.
I mean, I guess do you think this is Brady's last hurrah? Last chance?
I don't think so. His last chance?
So old.
His last chance. Well, I thought you were asking he's not retiring.
Yeah.
There's no way. I think he'll play at least another 3 more years. Manning is more likely to retire.
Yeah.
Definitely. Brady still looks young to me. He's definitely lost stuff on his power, his throwing power, but the zip on the ball. But I still feel like he's a competitor and is gonna want to play for at least another 3 more years or so. I imagine he won't retire until he wins a Super Bowl or until he reaches 42 and then he have to hang him up, or until he's just physically just knows he can't do it. But he's going to try for another Super Bowl. If he doesn't get it this year, then he'll keep going. If he does, then you might see him try a couple more years and then hang him up. But yeah, I mean, if he wins number 4, he's up there with Montana and Bradshaw with the most Super Bowl wins for a quarterback. Does that put him as, number 1 all time, or what do you think?
I think so. He's just, I mean, would you rather have any other quarterback?
Of all time? Yeah, I mean, that's tough to say. I mean, Montana I still think I wouldn't even put Bradshaw in the same class as Montana at all. Montana was the best. I think Marino was so good even though he didn't win Super Bowls.
He had no team.
Yeah, he had no team, and still he was doing
he
what
won
did.
16 games.
Yeah.
Oh, was that team?
No, that was a 70s team.
Nah.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, that team won the Super Bowl. So they went undefeated all year. Yeah, I think Rodgers will get there if he wins another 2. He would be put up there.
Yeah.
If he wins 2 more, they would. If he wins 1 more, he'll be put up there, but I don't think he would be. People would say he's the greatest of all time.
He has all the tools you want for a quarterback.
Yeah. So, hopefully, he's still only 31. He's got plenty of time. But then again, you gotta make every year count. And suddenly, it's like he's 32, 33, 30. Yeah, so you don't want to do that if you're the Packers. But, yeah, Brady, it would become an argument of Brady versus Montana. And I know people always throw Manning in there, even with just the 1 Super Bowl. It's tough. I don't think there's a right answer or a wrong answer, though, in this discussion.
It's not like MJ and everyone else.
Yeah. It's not Gretzky and everyone else. Yeah, it's a little different. I think you're right. When you talk about NBA or NHL, you can easily name the number 1 player of all time. But right now, yeah, I think it's a little tougher.
Mm-hmm.
And because of how many different positions there are, too, usually the quarterback is the one that affects things the most. But there's still a lot of other players that have played that have been strong at their position. So, yeah, until someone wins 5, then you're not going to have a clear, definitive answer.
I mean, is that ever going to happen?
I mean, Brady could do it with 2 in a row.
That's true.
It's true, but he's got to get this one first. So, what do you, before we sign off, because we're getting close to the end, but what do you think of Marshawn Lynch and just the fact that he won't answer media questions or answers them the same way?
He's just being stupid. Like, really? Like,
Yeah.
I get that you dislike them. At least put it on the front that you, like...
I think it was, at the beginning, it was, like, it didn't bother me, but now it's becoming over the top, and I almost feel like he's doing it on purpose.
You're getting fined $250 grand.
Yeah. He's saying, I'm just here so I won't get fined, and that's what he said. Apparently he said that, like, 29 times, answered questions a day during their media day.
What?
Their big media day. He said it, like, he just answered every question with, I'm just here so I won't get fined. I don't know. I just feel like he's just putting on a show. When he would, like, thank the reporters, thank you for asking about that. And then he just wouldn't answer it. But thank you for asking. I appreciate the ask. I don't know. I think him doing that bothers me more than, like, Richard Sherman calling people out and stuff. I don't know. It's just,
because at least Richard Sherman, like, he knows that the fans pay his, like, paycheck.
Yeah.
Like, he knows he has to put it on front, and he has to, and he does it while playing about lose.
Definitely. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining us here on The Pack. We'll be back next week, hopefully with our full crew. We'll be able to talk about the Super Bowl on Tuesday, so join us 4:30 again next week, and we'll be back. So thank you all for tuning in. Again, I'm Ian Dexter, and for Kellen Hughes, signing off. Good night, everybody.